Hail, Internets! It's Paul. It's Matt. The Dork Lords. We are here to talk about Mr. Robot Season 3 finale.
Yes.
Shutdown. We're dressed up for the
Yeah.
occasion.
Hey.
That's not it at all, actually. There's a Christmas party that we are off to attend.
Yes.
Actually, it occurred to me this whole time we've had our anonymous mask back there. It is actually not at all connected to Mr. Robot. That is
is it?
Or is it? Maybe it is. Maybe the Dark Army. That is from a comedy show I did called Anonymous. And Anonymous watches over us. I've just realized every single time there's always pink right there. Okay. Anyway.
Praise be to you,
Anonymous. All right. So, here we go. The season finale. A lot happens. Some monumental stuff.
Yeah,
Okay,
a lot
so
of stuff happened.
boom. We start with Dark Army breaks into Elliot's place, trying to find him. Basically, find Elliot.
Yep.
He's not there because he's next door. He's smart, and he comes back to his apartment, sees it's all torn up. Is like, oh, that's right. FBI is in with the Dark Army. That means also probably Darlene's in trouble. I've been trying to call her. She doesn't answer. Uh-oh. I gotta figure out who in the FBI is a bad person, bad
Right.
apple, and help Darlene.
And Mr. Robot wrote me a note, so what does he know?
Right. So he basically summons Mr. Robot. He starts pushing over the arcade games. That's what
Yes.
does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Robot will hate that if I break those arcade games. And sure enough, Mr. Robot shows up. They go on Coney Island. They ride the Ferris wheel.
Yep.
And there's a Ferris wheel riding moment where Robot and Elliot chat. And yeah, so basically Mr. Robot says, yes, Santiago is the name of the FBI agent who's the mole. I found that out from Wellick. There's also a moment of where Elliot says, yeah, we haven't been talking because I'm just scared of talking to you. And part of it is because I realize that you are a part of me as well. And Mr. Robot admits that there's a part of Elliot in him, so there's a little meeting of the minds moment there. It's not a screw you, I'm going to kill you at all costs.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, great, okay. So, then the mission is to try to help Darlene in some way.
Yes.
They're going to go to Santiago's place and look for clues.
Yes.
What the hell? We'll just skip to that. So they do, and Irving finds them there. We're not sure exactly how Irving knew they were there, but I don't know, maybe there's a camera set up at Santiago's place or something, or I don't know. But however it works, the Dark Army captures Elliot.
Yep.
/ Mr. Robot.
Right.
Meanwhile, back at the FBI, Santiago kidnaps Darlene. He's basically desperate, throws her in a car right there in the FBI parking garage. Dom kind of gets wind of like, oh, you misdirected me with you sent me off to this FBI agent who has no idea what the case is about.
Nope, and he's not taking Darlene, so what's going on with Darlene?
Yeah, so she goes to the parking garage, confronts Santiago, who knocks her out with one punch, by the way.
Yep.
I'm like, come on, you're an FBI agent. Come on, let's do this.
Yeah, she wasn't suspecting it. She spent all that time looking like she suspected.
Yeah,
And
then she
never
just got
suspecting
cold-cocked.
She just got cold-cocked there.
So she wakes up, hand-tied, and she is, Santiago has kidnapped both Dom and Darlene.
And then all the pieces fall into place.
It was you!
You did the other thing.
It's like,
you
what?
were a terrible person.
Catch up, please. Anyway, so she catches up. So there's a conversation there in the car. It seemed like they try to not redeem Santiago, that's the wrong word, but they try to humanize him a little bit. Where he's like, look, you don't know the pressures. I'm not a bad guy. Dom's having none of it. No, you're a horrible person, and you cost the lives of all these people, and blah, blah, blah.
You suck.
So he takes them to the barn, which we last saw where it was a safe house for Wellick earlier this season.
Yeah.
The barn out in the country. That's also where Irving takes Elliot.
Yep.
So we've kind of got most of the cast hanging out at the barn. The one notable cast member that is not at the barn is Angela.
Yeah.
we saw her last being put into a van, and she seemed like, oh, great. I think she thought she was going to go see White Rose.
She said that. You're not, we're right, because they had her waiting for a little while.
Yeah.
She's like, can I see White Rose now?
Yeah.
And the guy's like,
who are
hey,
yeah, like,
wanna...
I'm just a guy. I don't know what to do. So, yeah, that was kind of an awkward scene. It was funny. I have nothing. I don't know anything. So it turns out it's Price's big mansion that she's hanging out in. And Price, they have a pretty long dialogue scene there where Price is like, look, I'm concerned about you. I sent people around your place. You haven't been to work. You're going off the deep end. And she's kind of like, well, why do you care, basically? He's like, and it's appropriate that The Last Jedi is coming out this weekend. Because very big Star Warsy moment there.
Oh, sure, yeah, sure.
I
cut off her hand.
Am your father. Probably that's coming next episode. Yeah, chop the hand off. But yeah, so he announces that the great villain that they've been trying to take down is in fact her father. Okay, so which is also, we were trying to figure out why Price decided to hire Allsafe after seeing her in the. I thought maybe it was out of guilt for ruining the mom. You thought it was lust.
Somewhere in between.
It's somewhere in between. It was, I'm your dad. Yes. So that's he was trying to look after her. Kind of this whole time, he said that he was really cruel to her mom. That he tried to distance himself from her. Right. She got married, and the dad raised Angela as his own, even though she was actually biologically the daughter of Mr. Price. So that was a pretty revelatory moment. He also says, yeah, none of this, I know about this time travel idea.
Oh, yes.
It's BS.
Yep.
White Rose was manipulating you.
Yes.
She's delusional too.
Yep.
And you just fell right into the delusion. You're just going to have to live with what you've done.
Yep.
And that's a big premise for this episode in general. Elliot has to come to terms, kind of live with what he's done as well. And so, anyway, so Angela is, I think, on the road to recovery. Well, I thought there was a chance that she might commit suicide in this episode. She does not.
Yeah, no, it's filled with vengeance.
Yeah,
at least that's what it
that's true. She turns from, oh my God, what did I do, to make them pay. And so that's kind of her last directive to Price.
Yes.
So that's kind of its own little animal. That's off on its own. Most of the episode is this barn.
Yeah.
And what happens with all these big players.
Sure, yeah.
So it looks like Dom is about to be taken out and executed.
It does look like that.
Irving takes her to the wood pile where he had Wellick back in the day.
Yes.
And Wellick did so much chopping.
Yes.
So he sets it up as, just breathe, it'll make it easier. Here's one thing Dom also getting punched out with one punch. I was kind of waiting for Dom to either try to escape or fight back.
Yeah.
She kind of gives up. She's kind of like, you got me.
Yeah.
The whole time. I'm like, I think I might have, if I was sure I was about to be killed, especially by an axe, I think I might have bolted for it or something. I don't know. I'm an FBI agent. I'm trained. Combat, evasion. I don't know. Like, I was a little disappointed that she didn't do something. Attempt. But she doesn't.
I felt like, especially when he's like, look up. You don't want to see this.
Yeah.
And she's thinking, I don't want to see you kill me.
Right. I don't want to see you chop my head off.
I'm not going to make it hard, like, can you do it easily? And, no, it wasn't. And that wouldn't have helped that guy to be fighting back.
Help that guy who, what are you talking about? Santiago?
Santiago.
Yeah, no, because he didn't see it coming.
Well,
I'm saying she saw it coming and thought she saw it coming. I'm just saying, I just thought, she might.
That's not the kind of show this is. Really, come on.
One woman gang. Next snap.
Especially since it would have been like
kidney punch.
I'm gonna fight you. Well, I'm not gonna chop you.
Body blow.
So
I'm just. I get it. It wasn't Die Hard. She's not in the Nakatomi building.
Yep, no.
Okay. All right. So instead of killing Dom, Elliot axes, so to speak.
Santiago.
So
to speak.
Now this is also I called this last week where I was like, Irving is like a time bomb. We're waiting for that moment. when he explodes. And this isn't exactly an explosion,
No.
although this is the explosion
No.
of violence. It is an explosion of violence.
Yes.
We
never seen him do any acts of violence previous to this.
Correct.
So
he had plenty of opportunities.
We could have assumed that he would always have somebody else do it, maybe.
Right. And he's always been placid guy. Even when he gets Elliot,
right?
When he kidnaps him, he's still calm.
And perhaps that's White Rose. Maybe she just really because he's also got Leon too, so he's pretty chill.
He is pretty chill,
except when he's stabbing you
or shooting people
or whatever. Yeah.
So right. There's a similarity there. So Irving goes off, and is this psychotic scene basically of him just. The guy's dead. The guy's been dead for a minute or two, and he's still just hacking. He's like, "This was for me." Yeah. So he goes off, takes the shirt off first.
You could say though that perhaps the more practical application of that, because as he's doing it, it's like, oh, what about this other family member?
Yeah. So he is trying to make an impression on Dom to say,
like,
you're gonna turn and join the Dark Army. She says, nope.
Right.
Not going to flip, and then he starts naming all our family members
as he chops
while
he's
chopping Santiago.
To show I don't care about you or your family.
And we can surmise that's probably how they originally got Santiago involved, because we do have these scenes earlier this season of Santiago constantly calling his mom and like checking in on her. She seems frail, and he had to get her pills or something. And he's worried about her being involved in the various, the terrorist incidents that are happening. So I think my guess is similar thing happened with him. And in fact, Leon says, "Oh, looks like she just had the initiation." When she staggers back into the barn.
Yes.
And so you get the feeling that maybe they've all had this thing of like, we know all of your family members. We'll kill them all unless you work for us. Then Grant arrives at the barn.
Yes.
Which I suppose the barn is a somewhat fitting place in terms of like, what's the worst place you could put a hacker? Like some place where there's no wireless. Like it's off the grid. So I don't know if it's off the grid, but whatever. It's close enough. So Grant shows up, and Elliot immediately cops to the fact that there is no Phase 3.
Yes.
Which, of course, Grant's kind of ready to catch him on. Like,
yes.
Okay. I guess we can be honest.
Good. I'm glad we can be honest.
I'm glad we can be honest.
Yes.
He does this probably. I don't know. He's got guys with him. It looks like they are going to kill everyone.
Yes, it does.
Gun to Darlene's head.
Yep.
But instead, Leon, so much like we just saw Irving, like, I'm going to kill Dom. Nope. Santiago. Leon goes, I'm going to kill Darlene. Nope. And he shoots all of Grant's men.
Lieutenants or whatever, yes.
Which, it's interesting because they are Dark Army folks.
Sure.
Just like Leon is.
Right.
Like, I don't know. If you sign up to work for the Dark Army, much like Santiago, odds are you're probably going to get killed by another member of the Dark Army.
Oh.
It seems like that. Eventually.
To the extent that all get caught and shoot themselves, in this
case,
it doesn't seem like it really matters that much, especially if they're always endangering your family members. It's like, I could perhaps kill myself and spare my family.
Right. I'm just saying, it's just interesting that there is no real loyalty within that organization. That, it's not like the Dark Army is against everyone. Dark Army is like pretty much has a lot of internal feuding.
What are the internal feuding?
Well, I'm just saying, those Grant's men showed up at that barn. They're like,
right.
Oh, yeah, with Dark Army, we're going to do our stuff. They didn't think, that other Dark Army agent is going to turn around and shoot all of us in the face.
No, I didn't think that.
Santiago was like...
What before were you thinking about?
What do you mean before?
You said if like this is a bunch of other incidents have also occurred.
Oh, well, for instance, like Irving. Irving is a Dark Army guy.
I know.
Or Irving kills Santiago as well.
Right.
Just saying, there seem to be these moments.
Well, yes.
Okay, but
yeah. I feel like there's some people who are in and people who are out.
There's no job security in the Dark Army, I guess is my point.
If you're coerced, I think probably not.
Yeah. Good point. At any moment, your worth to them can be...
Yes.
And everybody basically hated Santiago. They say, like, he was a dick. So we killed him off. Grant has this moment where, before everybody gets killed off, he is obviously of the mind that finally I get to bump off Elliot and move on with sans Elliot. But that's not the case. And Elliot says, well, actually, there's an announcement that 5'9", and they don't care about it anymore.
No.
If you want to undo 5'9", have at it. We don't care. It's done its job.
Yep.
And so Elliot says, look, I can fix your Congo problem. Like, they haven't been able to start their operation in in the Congo. Anyway, yeah, we're in Chicago. They're in the Congo. And so he's like, look, I can do the hack. I can give you what you want. Just spare our lives. Grant's having none of it.
No.
But White Rose has been watching on a camera the whole time. The one wireless thing I guess they have out in the barn.
Sure, of course.
She's in a tub somewhere.
Yep.
Watching on an iPad. And basically the gig is up for Grant. She says, hey, this was always getting in your way. I don't know if she mentions that he's jealous, but we get the feeling.
She says jealous.
She says jealous, yeah. So, and then that propels Grant to make the decision to commit suicide.
Yes.
So he's the guy that commits suicide.
Yes.
I was thinking it might be Angela in this episode, but it was not.
No.
They didn't have everyone commit suicide.
No.
Just Grant.
Yeah. Pacing themselves.
Very important scene before this that I skipped over, but shouldn't have.
No, we shouldn't have skipped over it.
Is after Irving has chopped everyone.
Yes,
chopped Santiago into little bits.
Yeah, you got confused because there's so much of.
There's so much chopping, but it's one
so much
guy
of him.
and so much
It's
of
just
him.
one him.
Yeah. He announces the fact to Grant. Says, "Look, yeah, I had to kill Santiago. He's a dick, but I did recruit a new person who's going to be great. She's up and coming."
Yeah. Yeah.
And says, "I'm on sabbatical. I'm taking it. I'm out." And probably partially because he just did the first really violent act that we've seen him do in the show. I feel like maybe that's like, you know what? I need a break. Like I think in his mind, like he's forced to these moments, and then he needs to like step back.
Maybe.
But anyway, for whatever reason, he's like,
yeah. I mean,
I've done my stuff.
He might not want to be a part of what he thinks is going to happen.
Yeah.
So the fact that he reveals that the White Rose and him had a relationship.
Right. That's the
previous to
huge
that.
information.
It's like, oh, and now this guy's going to do his little plan. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Maybe he doesn't
he
want to be around
used
for
to
that.
be in Grant's position. He was the pre-Grant.
Yes.
And somehow fell out of favor without dying. So good on him.
Yeah.
He went to selling used cars. Good on you, Irving.
Yeah. To White Rose, maybe that's the same as being dead.
Yeah. So one of the, after Grant commits suicide, I assume one of the questions for next season is who becomes the next number 2.
Yes.
The thought that Grant was jealous of Elliot, you could make the case that maybe White Rose might attempt to co-opt Elliot to be her number 2. But I think we had talked about that maybe Wellick might be positioned to be the number 2.
I think, Wellick seems a more likely candidate.
He seems a more person who would be more likely to say yes.
Yes.
Elliot, I don't think would, but he could still be pursued.
Right, no. And, maybe how he is able to foil the Dark Army is use somehow connection with Wellick if Wellick decides to, increase their relationship.
Right. So, Grant is now dead, as is most of the Dark Army other than Leon, who basically says, hey, see you around. Or no, first he says, hey, do the thing you promised. And if you can't do it, bad things will happen to you.
Right.
Tap, 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 done. And humanitarian supplies from Iran magically go to the Congo. Right. And so the Dark Army has what it wants. They're like, if you want to do a 5-9 thing, so be it. Elliot has another conversation with Mr. Robot. Yes. So first, they actually are on the train, and it's Elliot talking to his sister, Darlene. And big, monumental moment in terms of the series, because been led to believe the entire time that part of Elliot's corrupted childhood was as a result of this moment when Dad pushed Elliot out the window.
Yes.
And even as late as last week's episode, we had the scene where they're at the movie theater and a flashback, and Elliot's got the cast on his arm, suggesting that's like right after he got pushed out the window. And the dad's like, "Can you ever forgive me? You know, maybe ever?" And he's like, "Nope." So the implication there was, "Can you forgive me for pushing you out the window?" Okay. Well, what we learn is he was not pushed; he jumped. It was a bizarre scene there where
Yes, he describes it. Yeah.
he was looking for a camera, maybe to take a picture of the snowman of Kevin McAllister. Maybe.
Well, that's the part that he tells, right? That he was looking for that camera.
I thought that's what she said too, though. Okay, maybe not.
I don't know. I just know that, or maybe.
If you know, and put it in the comments, like what was it? Because she said, I thought Darlene mentioned something about you were looking for the camera. Dad came home.
Oh, and she went into a closet or something.
Right. I think he maybe told her to go to the closet. Then, anyway, he took a baseball bat and started breaking everything in the room, and then jumped out the window.
Yeah.
And so I didn't exactly understand what the inciting nature of him going nuts in that moment, other than that the dad was going to come home and find something out that he shouldn't have. Don't use my camera. Is that it? Like, I was using it. I don't know. Anyway, if you got the sense of what that inciting incident was that made him jump.
Yeah, I feel like that's information
let us know.
Yet to come.
Okay.
That's my personal feeling.
Okay.
Because, yeah, then because for me, the whole thing is made me wonder if perhaps Elliot may have had violent episodes before.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right. It was just happened to be the very first one when he's a teenager already. So
no, maybe before there are times when he was like that. That
So
they just haven't mentioned before.
I agree. I think you're right on that. So now we have this moment then when Elliot is talking to Mr. Robot about undoing the hack, and actually that conversation ends with, I jumped. You didn't push me. Did you know? Of course, he's talking to himself there, but and he doesn't get an answer. Like the scene ends before Mr. Robot kind of has us a look. But in the meantime, Mr. Robot says, they find out that the back door was not created by Romero.
Oh yeah,
it was Romero was spying on someone else who was creating a back door, and that person was Elliot, Mr. Robot. And so we find out that Mr. Robot did this because he wasn't 100% committed to this task. That he's like,
just have a backup because something could
what if
go
we made
wrong,
a mistake?
Something did go wrong.
Right. But you would think that he was so committed to this plan. He's like, no way to undo it.
I see. He's saying, like, to me, it's like, what if we get screwed over? Do we want to undo it and have that back door? And that's where they are right now.
Well, I thought
screwed over.
I thought also the implication was there is a part of you, Elliot, in me, Mr. Robot, in that I just wanted to make sure, just in case there was a mistake, that this wasn't the solution I thought it was going to be, that we could undo it. That's kind of what I got out of that moment too, because he's like, they still have this meeting of the minds of you're part of me, I'm part of you,
right?
And so that's kind of what I got out of that. But okay, it could also just, it's a slight jump over to, instead of we made a mistake, something else went wrong and we can change it, we can fix it. But for whatever reason,
it's
left
something that he felt he needed to keep from Elliot, so that Elliot wouldn't just decide no,
right,
without really considering it, or he didn't trust Elliot with that information. That's why they had to war, but he had it in case he wanted it.
And so it's on a disc. Interestingly, the disc is like one of the few discs that doesn't have any writing on it.
Right.
And when the Dark Army came in originally in the beginning of the episode, they broke everything up. They just left it on the floor. Did not find that.
Yeah, it's a
thing.
good thing it wasn't damaged.
Right. And he says there's a bunch of pictures on there. You'll know the one that is the correct one, that has a bunch of data embedded in it that you can then send to the E Corp, and they will undo the hack.
Great.
So there's a couple of references here. One, we see an image from Superman the movie on a TV screen.
Yes.
And it's the bit where it's the Christopher Reeve Superman when Lois dies and he goes back in time he reverses time to save her, which again is another time travel motif.
Yes, it is. And I'm going to interrupt here to if you or anyone you know, because there are people out there who say he turns the world back, which he didn't do. Superman didn't do that. If that would happen, people would have flopped over and flew out into space. He just goes around so fast that he goes back in time, not the Earth. Jesus.
I'm not sure that I actually knew that. I think,
Well, thank you for accidentally saying the right thing twice.
Yay!
So it does back time.
The visual interpretation of that in the movie suggests, and incorrectly, I think you were correct in saying it looks like he's reversing the Earth's
it does look
rotation.
Like that, yes.
Yeah.
But that's his perspective.
It's his perspective. He's going back in time. Which I knew, of course. I knew.
Didn't turn the Earth back.
He did not turn the Earth back. Okay. He can't undo the Earth. Okay. Got it. So but it is a time travel motif.
Yes.
Again, and we see a second one.
Yes.
In the picture, it is apparently Halloween, one would think. And it's father and son, Mr. Robot and Elliot, dressed up as Doc Brown. And they're doing the Back to the Future thing. And they have a big bag of candy, and they're sharing the candy. I will have a picture of that, I'm sure. So another Back to the Future reference. We talked about those last episode, actually. And sure enough, the stuff's in there. He hits, puts it, the last scene before the credits is he hits enter. You noticed, and I did take a screenshot of this, so I'll put it up there. The email address that he's sending to E-Corp is Falcon's Maze.
Yes. Or somewhere on the screen there.
Yeah, I think it's actually the email address.
Okay.
Anyway, so that is a reference back to War Games.
Yes.
Which again, it's like, it's a hacker who has to try to save the world.
Very important computer movie.
Yeah. So another interesting Easter. They have a ton of Easter eggs right there at the end. You got Superman, Back to the Future, War Games, all pretty much movies that were roughly the same time.
Yeah, and you can say an Easter egg for Rick and Morty even. There you go.
There you go. And so it ends on this somewhat hopeful note where he hits enter and the dad is going to E-Corp. Theoretically, E-Corp will undo the hack, although that's yet to be seen.
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet.
And I postulated the idea that it goes to some IT guy who's like, well, this looks like it could be some kind of malware. Just to be safe, I'll just delete it. And it never goes anywhere. But the implication is, I keep saying implication today, but the implication is that voila, 5-9 will be undone and time will in some ways go back. And the talk between Mr. Robot and Elliot mentions the fact that Elliot, Mr. Robot's like, what does this do? This isn't going to help people anyway. At this point, we're already so far down this road. This isn't going to change the world back to make it all perfect again. And who's it going to help? And basically, Elliot's like, it is for me. It's not for anyone. I mean, I need to know that I can, make a positive difference. But
I feel like he didn't say.
He didn't say in what way? What do you mean?
Why he was...
why he's doing it for himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
What he's expecting to get out of it, actually.
Okay. But he is trying to get some kind of catharsis.
I feel like he just sees how bad it is. I mean, that's something that...
Right. I caused all this pain. I'm dealing with this, what I caused.
Right. I mean, certainly the things that what they wanted to accomplish with the action, which is to go after the 1%, the 1% of the 1%, didn't accomplish with that.
And he does say they did do one mistake. They revealed themselves, and so I'm going to go after all of them, and then which I assume is a season 4 thing. He's going to start going after the people that he now knows. White Rose, for instance. But so here's a little interesting analogy. We have both Angela and Elliot trying to come to grips with what they've done.
Yes.
And both of them kind of want to go back in time, right? I mean, Angela literally, but Elliot wants to undo what he's done, go back in time to undo what he's done. And so by pushing enter, in a way, he's managed to go back in time in a computer virtual way to undo all this stuff. So then there's a post-credit scene that happens, which is a little anticlimactic, I guess. I mean, like, it's Darlene walking to Elliot's.
It's a Coda, so,
yeah.
I mean,
but
at that point, it's sort of like teeing up the next season. The way that seeing, was it in the last season, we saw Leon. Yeah. And it's a scene that actually occurs, like, one of the last episodes of the next season.
Right, good point.
So,
they never didn't pay that off forever.
Trent and, what was it?
Mobley. So, Darlene is talking with this woman. I think she's a prostitute.
Yeah.
And basically talking about how Darlene's like, I think 5'9"
But a
might
prostitute
get
because
undone.
of that, presumably, because she's saying how her father was rich or whatever, but that's what she needs to do now in order to make ends meet.
And she's saying, hey, look, the hack, that 5'9" could be undone soon, because she knows that it's imminently going to be undone. And we kind of hear the other side of it, like, yeah, actually, what, I get my loans will come back? Yay! So, like, it won't make things better is kind of according to this woman,
Well, I think the way to accurately describe it is take them back to where they were before. Then really the intention of the hack was to make things better for people than it currently at the time was.
Yeah.
Then that didn't happen.
It did not happen.
Things got worse.
Things got much worse.
And now the only thing they can hope for is to be back where it was.
So the whole time during the scene, they're being followed by this car. Mysterious. We can't see who's inside it. And then at the very end, where it's revealed, they get out of the car, coming up to Elliot's place, and it's the drug dealer boyfriend of Shayla's from season 1.
Yeah.
Which is, and that's the end. That's a big surprise. Yep. And so it's kind of like, when I think of post-credit scenes, I think of the Avengers. So was this like a Thanos moment of, oh my God, that's the new big bad? Or was it like, oh, that's Howard the Duck?
Technically.
Oh, okay.
Technically,
that's
Avengers moment is shawarma.
It's a shawarma scene.
So there you go.
All right. So yeah, it felt like it was going to be a revelatory, like, oh my God. I don't know what that would have been, but it's somebody that is really important. He doesn't seem like that guy's really important, but
he's a threat.
Yeah, he's a threat. But
and we don't know how important he is going to be next season. I mean, I can't imagine that he'll be very important.
Right, it just doesn't mean a lot to us at this moment. But
yeah.
Right, which is what you usually tease is like.
Right.
I understand that this is important in some way. It's like you have to wait to see why this is important. Yeah, and it will be obviously, but
presumably.
So yeah, that was it. The season finale. Elliot jumped.
Yes,
that's a big acknowledgement for him. I'll be interesting to see when he goes back to the psychiatrist and is like,
if he does, yeah.
By the way, I jumped. Ha ha ha. Forget what I said. So we may do a theory video or something maybe for season 4. I don't know. Perhaps next week. We've got, obviously, Last Jedi. We'll be talking spoilers about that next week as well. We've got Black Mirror. I think we're going to do a little Black Mirroring in the very near future. If you've got an idea for a show that you'd like us to chat about, please put it in yon comments, and we will consider it appropriately. So, yeah, we're off to an office Christmas party now.
Yes.
So,
bah humbug.
Bah humbug. Thank you, Anonymous. Thank you, Paul. Bye, everybody.